All right, good morning, everyone. It is 8:31. I'm going to call this meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors to order. I'm admitting Chris Estel right now. All right, the first item on our agenda this morning is acknowledged minutes from the previous meeting. I believe we only have one set.
We have two.
There's two.
So I'll make a motion to approve January 24th and 26th.
Okay,
I will second that motion.
I have a motion from Sandquist, a second from Grish to approve the minutes from January 24th and January 26th supervisor meetings. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, next we'll move on to meet with our county engineer.
Good morning, supervisors.
Good morning, Dwayne.
It was a fairly quiet week in the secondary roads department last week. Just kind of general routine maintenance and blading on the roads, doing a little brush cutting, as you can see in your list there. We received a quote for a rain harvest system for providing water to the Pleasant Plain grader shed. It comes in just under $3,500, which is a lot less than $9,800 or $20,000. So we'll be pursuing that, moving forward with getting that system installed in conjunction with the septic so that we have.
So how much does
water.
that cost, did you say?
30, yes, actually 33, 34, yeah, $3,500.
So we not paying the tax or shipping or?
Yeah, no tax, no shipping.
This shows,
That shows the bottom list on that
Yeah.
is for a level indicator, so we know when we run out of water, we have to bring a tanker. But for no more water than we use, I thought it was ridiculous to pay $10,000 for a water hookup to
Yes.
Right.
the local provider there. Also on your list, let's see, that's from there. We have had the bid opening for the Vedic City Bridge project. We're doing in conjunction with them.
Good.
It was right at 20% under the engineer's estimate. We had two bids. The low bid was, the number two bid was at the engineer's estimate. The low bid was 19.8% under. So I would recommend that we proceed with the contract with Iowa Bridge and Culvert. If you guys give me, I believe that's on the agenda for after me. So I'm jumping the gun. I have, for you guys to look at, I have the bid tabs. If you care to peruse them, I can't let you keep them yet, but
No.
you can look at them. They're super secret until the contracts are signed.
Mhm.
We had a meeting with the Iowa County Engineers Service Bureau and the County Engineers Exec Committee last week. It looks like between the bridge projects or the bridge fund, the swap fund and F&M farm to market, we're going to be at least 20% over previous years with the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. The original guess was 30%. It looks like it's going to end up more like 20% because the DOT is going to get basically to take more money than we'd hoped.
Oh, yeah.
Of
Well,
course.
that's the DOT.
And then but it's 20% more than what we had. And there may be more available through the swap. It will be over what the DOT can swap. So we will have federal requirements on some of our projects going forward, which will increase the paperwork, but it's not.
And the cost.
It's not the end of the world.
Okay.
It's still better to stick in the eye.
Yeah.
We got contacted by the state Economic Development Authority for our RISE project that you guys did 3 years ago on the south side of town.
Mhm.
We had to do a follow-up report for that. I included that in
And
your
that's what that
packet.
is. Okay.
Looks like it did. It looks like the economic benefit so far is above what was spent, so we should be all right through those guys. We submitted the nutmeg check plans and specs to the state, so hopefully we'll get those approved and we'll be bidding that project later this spring. Thomas and Keaton passed their PCC2 certifications for inspection, so we should have a good staff for inspection for the summer.
We also got the project for 32nd Street all turned in and
That's, the
Ready.
final plans have been turned in, so that should
Okay.
be
should be
March or
3
April.
months. Yeah.
March or April for sure. And I think that's all that I have on my list, so
Okay.
I guess the next thing up would be the approval of award to Larue Bridge and Culvert.
All right. Thank you for the report and thank you, Billy, for giving this report to you every week to bring to us as well, as far as what the road crew is working on and what's going on at the time. We'll move on now to item number 2 on our agenda, discuss and consider resolution for proposed improvements, culvert replacement and installation of twin box culvert. That's out by Vedic City, as Dwayne had pointed out a little bit ago. The resolution reads as whereas bids were received January 31st, 2022 for the proposed improvements, culvert replacement and installation of a twin box culvert project BROS-SWAP-4650 parent 601-SE51. Be it resolved by the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors to award the contract to Iowa Bridge and Culvert LLC, or is it just LC?
I thought it was LLC.
Okay, we're missing an L.
I think I can double check.
Yeah, if you would double check, but okay, Iowa Bridge and Culvert of Washington, Iowa for replacement twin box culvert project and the same project number. So do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Drish, a second from Sandquist. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Since we've approved this, can we state what the cost of the project will actually be at this point in time? If you could hand me back those sheets with the, oh, you got it back around. The apparent low bidder of the 2 bidders that we had were Iowa Bridge and Culvert, and then Progressive Structures LLC was the second bidder. The total contract amount that was bid by Progressive Structures was $283,245.40. The total bid by Iowa Bridge and Culvert was $236,396. That again is below what the engineer's estimate was on the project to begin with, so we're getting a pretty good deal on the money. So,
The DOT does have it just listed as Iowa.
okay, have I called for the vote?
Yep.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
thank you. Okay, because I noticed that on the bid sheet just now as well, so there won't need to be any change there. There's that one. Okay, get a couple of signatures out of the way here and then we'll keep moving on. Meet with Rebecca Johnson of the Fairfield Public Library. Rebecca, please come up and join us.
So I'm here to present the library's annual report. Do you want to pass that on? And of course, this is for the fiscal year that ended June 30 of 21. In the prior year, we went over budget because we had to install a new HVAC system. We had a new boiler and a new chiller installed, and the new chiller had to be installed outdoors. And so it was, it's now an outdoor chiller. This year, to try to compensate, we really tightened our belts and we came in under budget. Looking at the memorial fund, things are pretty steady there. We receive money from our foundation, which covers about 60% of the cost of all the new books and films and things that go into the collection. And then there is some interest income on CDs at local banks. Of course, during my tenure, I've seen that drop quite a bit. When I first came into this role, interest rates on CDs at local banks were a lot different than they are today. We're fortunate to get 1% or so today, whereas back in the day, we were getting more like 5.5 or 6%. So we're really fortunate that the foundation has stepped up to compensate for the difference. Going on to the book sale fund. This book sale fund exists because people donate books and films and things that we put into sales periodically. And we use the revenue from those sales to fund programs and events for youth and for adults. We also acquired a new service called mobile print, and that's a convenience for people who can issue a print job from home or from work and then either pull up curbside to pick it up or come into the library to pick it up. So that's a new service. We also were able to acquire a couple of Dell rugged laptops that people can borrow and take home and use. Going on to the capital fund on the next page, that has remained at 84 cents for years. It's just a placeholder. The library endowment fund is comprised of money that came to the library back in the 50s with in the form of donations, with the proviso that that money be invested as a permanent endowment fund. So the interest income from this money is what you're seeing going into the memorial fund. We're allowed to invest in certificates of deposit at local banks. Going on to cash reconciliation of our independent library funds, you can see the interest income went into the memorial fund and so on. We had a rental house across the alley and sold it recently. And that revenue is earmarked for a self-checkout system so that people will be able to come in and have more privacy about what they're borrowing if they choose to use a self-checkout machine. Going on to the next to the last page, library collections, you can see that we're managing a pretty steady quantity of materials and a wide array of different collections. Our biggest growth has been in downloadable audiobooks down toward the bottom. That is something that's determined by a panel of librarians at the state level. And the next page shows you our usage. We were definitely impacted by the pandemic. We saw quite a decline for a while. But if you look at the middle section where it says programs and traffic, even though we were able to offer 66% of the programs, we had 88% of the prior year's attendance. And we had 60% of the prior year's usage. We did a lot of curbside delivery service. We implemented hybrid programs where people could choose to attend in person or from home. The next thing I wanted to share with you is a salary study that I conducted. I worked with Scott Dermont at the State Library of Iowa to gather some data on salaries at other libraries. Please take one and pass around. This first study that I'm going to share with you shows two categories of libraries in Iowa. We're in the yellow category because we're considered size E. A size E library serves in a community of fewer than 10,000 people. And our population, you see at the top there, is 9,464 as of the time this study was done. And this is Scott Dermont's data. The blue communities have size F libraries, which means that their population can be 10,000 or higher. Scott Dermont views this list of libraries as comparable to Fairfield. And we're looking at population of the city as well as the service area population. So if you go across to Fairfield right here on the right, you'll see that our service area population is quite high relative to our peers at 17,319. Our service area is encompassing more than 400 square miles, all of Jefferson County. And then you go down to total full-time equivalent staff. We have 8.75, which is why you see the total circulation of physical and electronic media as 90,392. Our circulation is high relative to the averages that you see over there in the pink. So we're a heavily used library. And then there are 4 categories of wages that the state library tracks: directors, youth services, library clerks, and shelvers. And then you see total salaries for all positions. Pella and Waverly are definitely outliers. You know, they probably have higher cost of living. I know housing is quite a bit more expensive in Pella. And I imagine that their property tax revenue is significantly higher than Fairfield. And that's why I did the second study that I'm going to pass around. I removed those 2 cities because they are outliers. And then that affected the averages quite a bit and brought them down to a more reasonable level. And you can see that in our column, I've highlighted 2 roles. The library clerks, those are the people who work the front desk, and the shelver. Library clerks and youth services librarian. Alex McCunis has a master's degree in library science. He runs a department solo. He's done a stellar job, and his wages are significantly below average. Ditto for our front desk staff. I did a quick reach out to person in the auditor's office, and I learned that desk wages here for clerical staff range from $16.67 an hour to $28.31 an hour. Our personnel committee, our library trustees would like to bring Alex and our front desk staff up to market over time. And so that's one of the goals that we have for the coming fiscal year.
Salaries are determined by the city though, aren't they? They
They're
aren't really
determined-
determined by the Board of Supervisors.
No, they're not.
So this was just a nice report to give us an idea of what was going on
Right.
so that it could get out to the public.
Well, I also want to make a request that you hold our funding steady. Because when it comes to anything that's in our operating budget, whether it's salaries, utility bill, you know, whatever, it's all one pool. that
Right.
Then the library board has to decide how to spend. And their desire is to bring these people up to market,
Mhm.
but doing that affects that pool, you
Right.
know, in other ways. So none of it is really isolated. It's all in one bucket.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we're
All right.
working on budget now, so we don't have any answers.
No, not yet. So thank you very much for the report, Rebecca. We appreciate you
welcome.
bringing that in and talking to us about it. We are working in our budget sessions. We're doing work sessions right now, trying to work out the budgets for all the different departments here in the county. And so this is helpful information for us.
Okay, and do you know, how should I reach out to determine our funding for the coming year from the supervisors?
We'll know whenever we certify the budget, there'll be public hearings, so it'll be published.
And that's
Mhm.
usually in March?
Yeah, it's the same timeline as the city.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
okay,
have to have everything turned in just at the same timeframes that the city does.
okay.
So the latest we would have on public hearings would be the third week in March, maybe,
Yeah.
correct? I think that's
It's usually
the
around
week
mid-March.
of the 15th. And I think that's the date that we need to have everything ready. They have to be turned in and certified to the state by the 30th of March. So we're working towards that right now. February starts tomorrow, which seems kind of quick, even though other people think January lasted 700 days. But
Thanks,
it's,
Rebecca.
yeah, it's good that you came and talked to us. Thank you very much for
Appreciate
for
the
doing
report.
that.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to discuss and consider 2080 agreement for rescue resource officer for Cardinal Community School Districts. This is a agreement that we supply money to Cardinal so that they can hire a resource officer, sheriff deputy from Wapello County to come over. Now, we have kids that are in the Wapello or the Cardinal School District that live in Jefferson County. This is a little bit different than supplying a resource officer like we've been approached for Pekin and the Packwood Pekin School District area. So the agreement is pretty lengthy. It's about 3 pages long. I don't know if anybody wants me to read all the way through this or not.
No, but basically the changes are, before, we just needed to get a 2080 due to the state auditors
Right.
meeting last summer, so this is the reason for this. And so they have asked the officers supplied by Wapello County, so their 2080 is much different than ours, just because they have the bulk of the cost and the bulk of the students. We have very few, relatively speaking, 100 and some students.
Well, 11%.
Yeah, 11%. So they're asking for 5,000. So
Mhm.
basically it just solidifies that, and this money would go to the Cardinal District. And I guess it's for a 2-year, 2022, 2023, 2023, 2024, starting July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2024. And
again, that would be 2 separate years, but this agreement can do that with 2 fiscal years that we have. It would be $5,000 from each
here,
particular year. So I would take a motion to approve the 2080 agreement to award Cardinal School District $5,000 to go in conjunction with Wapello County's agreement for providing the officer at the school.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve this 28 agreement for resource officer for Cardinal Community School Districts.
I second that motion. I'm glad we got to read it. We voted on it.
And
Uh-huh.
And
Well,
thanks Ian and Pat for all the work you did on this because, again, this is new. Just new.
New
of the
because of the change
state auditor.
from the state auditor in their memo. So I have a motion by Sandquist, a second by Drish. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
How many copies do you need?
Just two, and they only need to be
Well, I was
signed
thinking
by
Tom
me.
might want one.
Well, who
Can you
can
get
have a
one?
photocopy?
Because they'll need to sign one, won't they? The same one.
If I just get a copy of sometime from the email, we'll just approve it at our board meeting.
So I'll sign two. Just so that she can do what she needs to do with two of them. Okay, moving on. We'll go to item number 4, discuss and consider hiring Dakota L. Larue as a correctional officer in the sheriff's office. Barb, tell us a little bit.
I met with Dakota here, I think it was last week. Very nice young man. Currently was working security in a Talma for JBS, I believe. He is a Van Buren graduate, lives in Milton. Very nice young man. So he is actually replacing somebody we lost to Lee County Jail back in November. So
So this isn't a new position or anything like that. It's just filling an existing.
still an existing spot that we lost somebody to another jail. So he's starting out considerably lower than the base pay for 1 year
Mhm.
before he reaches that. So kind of a probation period.
Right.
So you have the numbers there, it's what, just about 35.
Yeah, 35,593.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve this.
Second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion from Sandquist to approve this, a second from Drish. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, now we'll move on. We have discuss and consider Board of Health appointments. I thought we had addressed
I
this.
think this is a.
I thought we had two. That's one question. Already.
We looked back at the motion and the only thing that was included was for your appointment to the board.
Okay. We had been given the same names previously that were already on the board. And I would accept a motion to approve those two appointments that were open because there was 3 openings.
So it's Dr. Trent and Melissa Jones. I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second that motion.
All right. All those, I have a motion from Sandquist, a second from Drish. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we'll go into make committee reports. D,
Yeah, Vita in Area 15. All I can say for Area 15 is call Chris Bowers if you're interested in learning more. They've got a lot of different grants as they usually have going, or else call Economic Development here. So there's a lot of good work going on. And then we had budget workshops
I had the seat, my turn.
Mhm.
I had the CETA meeting last Monday night, and I think I've told you prior to this that the main thrust of that meeting was to let everybody know that CETA had lost the contract with Ottumwa Schools for the Pickwick School for the 3-year-olds there. And I was under the impression that we're going to lose about $3 million because of that,
Mhm.
and probably have to lay off several folks. A good number
Good
of
portion
folks.
of
Yes.
folks to come up with $3 million,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then,
which is tragic.
So how big of an area does that involve then? And how many?
well, Pickwick School would be the thing, the area for Ottumwa school system,
So who's
so-
gonna do that?
Ottumwa school system.
Oh, okay,
So I think they're taking it in-house.
okay,
We'll see how that goes.
okay.
I had a CERD meeting on Thursday morning. Not a lot of discussion there other than Tony had given a recommendation as far as, I guess, Keokuk County had wanted to come into, or made applications way last fall to come into our area again. But there was a situation with Muscatine County that was prohibiting that. And so I think that the consensus is to talk about it at the next meeting, which won't be till April. In my mind, I fail to see how Keokuk County and Muscatine County are conjoined. So I'm not sure about that. It's very confusing. 10:15 meeting was all about ridership. There's a lot of veterans that are getting free ridership,
Mhm.
which is a very good thing because they deserve it. They are hiring a couple folks as usual. They're having less problems with maintenance repairs. So that's a good thing. That's all.
Mhm. Okay. I have no committee reports from last week to discuss. So we'll move on then to public comments. I see we have Mary Ann Nordike and Thomas. Thomas, who are you? And you're joining us this morning for? I like to have last names, Thomas. Obviously not going to comment. We also have Chris Estel with us online.
I
So
think we've got one here.
we have one in the room, public comment. You want to come up to the table, please? And again, start with your name so everybody gets a chance to meet you.
Sure. Thanks for letting me speak today.
Sure.
My name is Kevin Hatfield. I'm the superintendent of the Pekin Community School District. I'm also shared with the Sigourney Community School District. I noticed earlier you were talking about 28E, part of the community school district, and I have some background with West Branch as a superintendent there for 7 years.
Oh.
And we had I think they're in about their 10th year now of a SRO officer there,
Mhm.
15, 16 hours a week type thing.
Mhm.
But mainly what I wanted to share today is that, I've been working with Bart. We've had 4 or 5 of the sheriffs in our region talking about most, again, one thing I will say is I'm speaking on behalf of the district. I don't make the final decisions. My school board does. So I serve at their, so I just wanted you to know that when I work on a contract or something, I'll probably be bringing it to them first for their kind of formal approval or agreement, then hopefully coming back with you guys with some ideas around it as well. So, so had wonderful experience with SRO, and knowing that Angie Porn, I believe I pronounce it right, Angie has the training here as a Jefferson County officer, and it was just great. She has students in our school. Of course, there's security pieces that we love about having SRO and just their knowledge of the school, but probably of equal importance is the idea that they dovetail their curriculum right into, guidance lessons, safety lessons. We see it as a great relationship building piece with students. Often as a superintendent, Bart might come and just chat and we'll be talking about crisis management. Almost inevitably, I'll get 3 or 4 calls while we're the officers in our school, right? So, which is fine. That's part of it, life. And you also probably know, at least for Pekin, and I'm also somewhat speaking on behalf of Sigourney, Pekin, there's a response time, and speaking with Bart and everyone I arrived there is kind of lengthy if we had an emergency. And so it varies if an officer's around, of course, but
Right.
we feel like we did additional security for us, additional communication. So having said that, the thing that's kind of interesting about all this is how do you make it work with perhaps an individual 2080 with each county? So, you know, we have students from Wapello, we have students, of course, from Jefferson, we have students from Keokuk, we have students from Washington. So I guess I might be making the tour of talking to different boards to chat about this. And so I do have some preliminary numbers to kind of throw out, and I've been kind of throwing these out at Bart a little bit too, is the idea of perhaps in our school district having 14 hours of service, just to start with for the 22-23 school year. You know, 14, maybe it's 15, 16, we can still work out details, but just to give you some background. So, you know, maybe we know the salary number, then we divide that out by, there's 36 weeks in the school year, and we do something around that, and then maybe it's percentage of students in the Pekin School District that we also divide it out. Some of my preliminary numbers would show that we could maybe cover, not quite, maybe a third of a salary to have them maybe at an hourly rate. I think the current one's a little different, but you know, the 11% of the students are there. Maybe I do some factoring on that as well. But I'm really interested in the idea. I've pitched it to our school board 2 or 3 times. Parents have come to speak about it. Obviously, there's just growing concern in our communities about security and safety. And I think a few years ago, they weren't necessarily interested in it at Pekin, but I think now people are starting to see the benefits for many reasons. So I just throw that out to you. I don't want to take all of your time today, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And if you have any questions for myself or want to add some notes.
Yeah, I would just like to say, hopefully we can get Kevin back next week on the agenda where you can have more discussion with it. But this past summer, Deputy Angie Porn completed 3 different courses based off grant money that we were able to get to send her. She's fully trained in school resource officer. My idea currently, and what we've been talking with Pekin about, is not replacing her if she were to do this, to work in the number of hours in her work schedule. So I just want to let that, you know, I'm not looking to add another deputy to the overall budget. So that's what we're working towards. I know you can't give any feedback right now because we're not on the agenda, but I want to put a request in that we talk about it next week.
Could you give Darren an agenda item to put on for next week?
I think you already have. If you make note of that, we'll have Bart on school resource officer
Then you
for Pekin School District.
Then I would assume I would.
Next Monday.
Draft for somebody some draft ideas.
We can bring some ideas back, and
I mean, unless you want to wait till it's farther down the line, that's really up to you. Because all we do then is just do a really discussion, which now we can't really do.
and this would be for next school year, start beginning next school.
Yeah, and timing wise, you are right. And what the thing I've been wondering about is maybe what we do. Well, it might be great to bring it a little, just some general ideas to you guys, maybe a general draft of something. And then maybe I bring it back to my school board, which meets on the 14th. And then once they've given me kind of, hey, thumbs up, then we can maybe come back again. Does that sound like a?
Sure.
Yep, that way we can have an opportunity for county attorney to look over
Yes.
what draft proposal you guys might have. It might be good to get a copy of the draft proposal from Wapello County for how they describe the resource officer for down at Cardinal.
It's different. It's
Well,
very different.
There could be things in there though that could be used in that type of agreement, whether it's different or not.
Yeah, we're supposed to.
All right.
discuss it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys for letting me come in.
Yeah.
All
Appreciate it.
right, any other public comment? Yes.
So going along with SRO's none from Illinois, across the river from St. Louis, we had an SRO in our elementary school, in our middle school, and in our high school. Just coming from personal experience, I think an SRO is just a great asset, not just for the students, but for the community. It gets the kids closer to law enforcement. a lot of the times, at least with an SRO, they're the same officer that does the DARE program, which is a anti-drug program. I'm pretty positive you guys probably have it up here. They break up fights. If there's some sort of emergency, even a medical emergency, they're in the school, they can help respond to it. It's a definite asset for, I think, every school district. And not to mention, with the rising unfortunate school shootings in the nation, I mean, they are the first person to respond if something were like that were to occur. Not saying anything like that would happen here, but it's always good to at least know that you have somebody on the premises to help out.
Thank you.
Okay. Did you have a comment? Okay. All right. Allow claims and approve reports. Okay, I have a motion from Drish, a second by Sandquist. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Discuss and consider nuisance properties. We have a nuisance hearing coming up at 10 a.m. I'll discuss more during that time period. We have no other nuisance properties that we're currently looking at this moment in time because we're taking into consideration whether or not the program is of value or not to the county citizens. So we'll move on then. I would accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we adjourn or just recess till 10?
No, we would adjourn this meeting. The nuisance
Okay.
hearing is a separate meeting.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to adjourn the regular session of the Board of Supervisors on January 31st. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Thomas, for adding your last name to coming on here. You're out at the county engineer's office, Thomas Ensminger. And everyone have a good day. Thank you very much.